This lesson is on using the percent proportion. You have learned how to solve for the percent of a number or the percentage amount or the whole amount by using percent bar models. Well, now we're going to introduce you to something a little bit easier, and it's called the percent proportion. As you will recall, a proportion is two equivalent ratios or two equivalent rates, and that's basically what the percent proportion is. The percent proportion is the part to whole equivalent to the percent amount out of 100%. Okay, this 100%, all percents are a comparison to 100. So this 100% never changes. It will always be 100%. This is the whole amount. So our part to whole ratio is equivalent to some percent number, which is the part of the 100%. So let's put it into use. Okay, on your notes, you have a checklist. Take a look at the checklist. There are 4 steps that you need to go through every time you work a problem solving with the percent proportion. So our problem is, what is 30% of 90? The first thing you need to do is identify what you need to find. Do you need to find the part? Do you need to find the whole? Do you need to find the percent? The best thing to do is to go ahead and make a list at the side, listing what you know. So the 3 parts would be the part, the whole, and the percent. Let's look at our problem and see what we know. Okay, what is 30%? We know the percent. So our percent is 30 of 90. This of is our clue word. That means the 90 is our whole. And in this case, we're looking for our part. That is our unknown. So now that we've identified what we're trying to find, we can check that off, move on to the second step, fill in the proportion with the given information. So our proportion is part to whole. So the part is unknown. The whole is 90, is equivalent to or proportional to the percent, which is 30, always out of 100. Okay, proportion is set up. Check it off. Move on to step 3. Solve the proportion by finding the scale factor. Note, you may have to simplify first. Okay, our unknown is on the left side, so we're going to be going from right to left. We're going to go from 100 to 90. Is there a scale factor that you can multiply or divide 100 by that will equal 90? No, there's not. So we're going to have to simplify first. So if you look, 30 and 100, they both end in a 0, so a common factor would be 10. We could divide both by 10. Hopefully you remember the little shortcut that says if they both end in a 0, you can cross them off. So it simplifies to 3 to 10. Now can we go from 10 to 90? Definitely. We multiply by 9. Do the same thing on top. 3 times 9 is 27. So we have now completed step 3. We've solved our proportion. And we move on to the last step, which says to write an answer statement. It doesn't have to be a real long paragraph or a super long sentence. It just needs to be a quick statement giving your answer. Blank is 30% of 90, 27. 27 is 30% of 90. What do you think? Is that easier than the percent bar models? Okay, let's try another example. Finding the percent of a number. 6 is what percent of 40? Okay. Again, you want to make your list. Step 1, make your list so you can identify what it is you're looking for. You don't have to write out the part, the whole percent. You can abbreviate. You can put a P for part, a W for whole, and the percent symbol for the percent. Go through your problem, figure out what it is you know. Well, I know the of is my clue word, of 40. That represents my whole. 6 is some percent of 40. 6 is some part of 40. So this 6 is my part, and I am missing the percent this time. That's what we're solving for. Step 2, fill in your proportion with your information. Part to whole. My part is 6, my whole is 40. I don't know the percent, and it's always going to be over 100. Now I'm ready to solve. This time, my unknown is on the right side, so I'm going to go from left to right. So I look down here, I'm going to go from 40 to 100. There is no whole number that I can multiply or divide by to get 100. So I'm going to have to simplify first. 6 and 40. Common factor would be 2. So I'm going to divide out 2 from both. And I'm going to get 3, and 40 divided by 2 is 20. Now can I go from 20 to 100? Definitely. Multiply by 5. Do the same thing to the 3, and you get 15. We have solved our proportion. Go on to the last step, which is to write your answer statement. 6 is 15% of 40. Okay, what about if we have percents that are greater than 100? What is 150% of 44? You follow the same steps. Part, whole, percent. Okay, 150%. This is my percent of 44. That of is our clue word here. Of 44, that's our whole. This time we are looking for the part. Okay, before we actually solve this, let's talk about this. If 44 is my whole, if I have 44 cookies, what is 100% of the amount of cookies? 100% would be the total, right? It would be the 44. So my percent is greater than 100%. So will there be more than 44 or less than 44? Well, since it's more than 100%, then my answer should be greater than 44. So keep that in mind when we're solving our proportion. So let's set it up. Fill in what we know, part to whole. Our part is unknown. Our whole is 44. Our percent is 150, and that's always out of 100. Okay, can we go from 100 to 44? No. So we're going to have to simplify before we can multiply. So I can already see that I can divide by 10, so I'll do the shortcut. Now I have 15 to 10. Can I go from 10 to 44? Nope, not yet. I need to keep simplifying. What else can I divide by? I can divide by 5. And that's going to give me a 3 to 2. Now I can go from 2 to 44 by multiplying by 22. Do the same thing to the 3. 3 times 22 is 66. We solved our proportion. Our last step is to write an answer statement. So 66 is 150% of 44. And that makes sense because our percent is larger than 100. So our answer should be larger than the whole, larger than the 44. Okay, so on the right side of your foldable, there are the 3 types of percents. There's one where you're finding for the missing part. The second one's where you're finding the missing whole. And the third one was where you're actually finding the percent. So let's go ahead and do the first one together. Our example, in a survey of 50 people at Scoop's Ice Cream Shop, 20% of the people said their favorite ice cream flavor was vanilla. How many people said that their favorite flavor was vanilla? Okay, just because it's a word problem doesn't mean that any of our steps change. They're going to stay the same. So do your first step. The first step is to identify what you're solving for. So part, whole, percent. Let's go through and see what we know. In a survey of, can't see that, of 50 people. That of is our clue word, that is our whole. So our whole is going to be 50. 20%, that's our percent number. So our percent is 20. That means we're trying to identify what the part is. How many people said their favorite flavor was vanilla? That's the part, the number of people who liked vanilla. Okay, now let's go ahead and fill in our proportion. Our part is the unknown. Our whole is 50. Our percent is 20. And that's always going to be over 100. Now solve it. 100 to 50, we're going to divide by 2. Do the same thing to the 20. 20 divided by 2 is 10. So our answer statement would be 10 people liked vanilla, or said that vanilla was their favorite or preferred vanilla. Something to that effect. Pretty simple. So what I'd like for you to do is I'd like for you to go ahead and pause the video and go ahead and fill in the missing whole and the missing percent. Fill in the proportions, solve them, get your answer statements, and when you're done, come back and check your answers. Okay, so finding the missing whole. 30% is our percent. That's always over 100. There are 15 pink gumballs, so that's our part, and we're looking for the whole. How many total gumballs are in the machine? So, can we go from 30 to 50? Yes. We don't have to simplify. We can just go ahead and divide by 2. Do the same thing for 100, divide by 2, and your answer is 50 total gumballs, or 15 gumballs in all. Is that what you got? Okay, let's check the last one here. A salesperson sold 20 cars last month. 7 of the cars were red. Okay, here's the of. Some of you might think that the 7 is the whole because of the of, but the 7 is in front of the of. Okay, the whole will always come behind it, or it will follow the word of 50 cars, of 100 cars. Okay, the 7 does not come behind it, so it's not the whole. Instead, the 7 is the part. And the whole is the 20. That's how many they sold in all. Out of that 27 were red. And we're looking for the percent, and this will always be 100 down here. So what do we do to 20 to get 100? Multiply by 5. Do the same thing. 7 times 5 is 35. So 35% of the cars sold were red. There's your answer statement. Okay, so now that this is filled in, you will need to go ahead and glue this foldable into your journal so that you have them in your notes. And we're going to move on. These are your 2 video check questions. You're going to do these on your video check sheet that will be turned in at the end of the week. Question number 1. At Pizza Pie, 9% of the pizzas made last week had extra cheese. If 27 pizzas had extra cheese, how many pizzas in all were made last week? You need to make your list of your part, your whole, and your percent so you can identify what you're solving for. You need to show your proportion, solve your proportion, and write an answer statement, just like we got done doing. Video check question number 2. Alana spent $21 of her $300 paycheck on a gift. What percent of her paycheck was spent on the gift? So pause the video, work these 2 video check questions, and then come back and we'll talk about your homework. Okay, let's talk about your homework. Your homework is the worksheet, percent proportions. This is problem number 1. 2 types of sandwiches were made for a tea party. 40% of the sandwiches were cheese sandwiches, and the rest were chicken sandwiches. If there were 288 chicken sandwiches, how many sandwiches were made altogether? Okay, part A is to identify what you need to find. So here you need to fill in the part, the whole, and it says new whole. I'm not sure why it says that. Instead, it should be percent. Okay, so fill in what you know from the problem, the part, the whole, the percent, and then estimate. Okay, will your answer be less than 288 sandwiches? Will it be more than 288 sandwiches? Then you're going to set up your proportion, fill in your amounts, solve it, and write your answer statement. All steps and all work need to be shown in order to receive full credit. Okay, get started.